Welcome back to Startup Accounting 101. This is a video series for founders and small business owners to understand accounting fundamentals for running a business. This is QuickBooks 101. It's the basics and best practices for the most used accounting software of small business, which is Intuit QuickBooks Online or QBO. I will be using a sample company, which is Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. And if you have QuickBooks Online, you should be able to follow along. So we are in the products and services section. So the first thing to do is to get to this listing. For instructions on how to do that, please go watch the products and services overview video. I'll go ahead and link that over here in the right-hand corner. Watch that video and come back. This video will cover the best practices for creating inventory within QuickBooks. So as always, to create any item, you go and create a new here. Inventory is the top choice. So inventory is any product that you buy and or sell and that you track quantities of. So this would be important if you sync QuickBooks to an e-commerce site like Shopify. You might want to know how much you have so that the site, the e-com site, can say an item is out of stock. So here in creating inventory, so here are the best practices, the best advice that I could give for creating any sort of product in QuickBooks Online. So this is an inventory product. So the first thing would be name. So the name has an asterisk to it, and I think it corresponds with the initial quantity on hand, also has an asterisk. So in QuickBooks, there's no unit of measure. When you say this is how much I have on hand, it doesn't really tell you like what value that means. QuickBooks is pretty user-friendly. Some of the mid and enterprise level platforms will have unit of measure as an option, but QuickBooks does not. So because of that, I would add whatever unit of measure you're talking about within the name and description for sales and purchasing. So for me, as a chocolate and candy business, I'm selling Dubai chocolate bars. So the bars come in eaches. So it could be one bar or one each. I can also sell on a wholesale basis by the case or maybe pallet quantities when I start selling to like the club stores, Costco, Sam's Club. So when talking about 100 quantities on hand, I have to know exactly which we're talking about. So it could be eaches, it could be cases, it could be pallets. Just make sure to call it out, the unit of measure in the name itself. Okay. So that's the first thing. Second, coming down to SKU, which is the stock keeping unit. As an item, as a product that you want to keep track of, you should add some sort of SKU. Now, come up with a naming convention that is scalable, so that when you release new products, you can easily generate a new SKU. So this is, I guess, an example. What I'm talking about would be something like this. So for this chocolate bar, so the product line, I guess, this is the chocolate bars. It's one unit. So this is one. This is eaches. One unit. -001, which is the flavor. So 001 is going to be the Dubai flavor, Dubai chocolate flavor. So when I release new flavors down the road, a whole bunch of different flavors, I can just add a new number just sequentially. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on and on as you're releasing new flavors. And if you want to be super organized, you can make 001 as the Dubai flavor profile, so that when you do eventually release cases, palettes, let's say, you can just add more. So this is one count. A case, let's say there's 12 eaches in the case. So CB12 would be one case of Dubai chocolates that you're going to sell on a wholesale basis. Once you get to the volume level of selling pallets, let's say you want, I'm going to just add a P here. So this is the pallet quantities of the chocolate bars, and this is the flavor code 001 is Dubai chocolate. So this is just a systematic way of generating new SKUs, which SKUs, they're all internal to you as the business. This is not the UPC code that they scan. This is for you to keep track of your stuff. And this, so create something, again, that's scalable, that makes sense for the business. So that way, when you released your 50th flavor, you're just going to add another number. Okay, so that's for SKU. Next, we have category. So category, again, is a way to classify the products and services that you sell. So my best advice is to match the category as you're able to run like a sales by item report. I would align the category subtotals to the P&L. So if I do category and income statement together for the best practices, sales, in the sales section, I would say create sales groupings that makes sense for the business. So for me, I have different product lines. I've got chocolate bars, I've got truffles, and I've got gummies. So I would have 3 sub accounts that say, chocolate bars, truffles, and gummies. So with that, I would create categories that kind of align with that too. So here's a category which is chocolate bars, and then within that I have different flavor profiles. There's dark chocolate, milk chocolate. So I would make sure that the chocolate bar subtotal, the way that I put it here, should match the subtotal for chocolate bars. And this Dubai chocolate, this one happens to be milk chocolate. I might create one later that's dark chocolate. Maybe I have 2 Dubai chocolate bar flavors. One is milk, one is dark. So I might have to call that out within the name as I'm creating it. So okay, this is, let's say, milk chocolate. But the SKU number will still correspond with whatever flavor this is. So that's the best practices for category and income account. For future reporting, I would align them together. So moving on to quantity and as of date. So the initial quantity on hand, if you know what it is, put it in here. And the as of date should be the date that you count. So if you have stuff lying around, go ahead and count how many chocolate bars you have. And if you counted it last week on Monday, that's the date that you want to put it down as. Now, the caveat to this is you want to choose a date that comes before any transaction. So if this is a completely new QuickBooks setup, you can just put it as of today, which is fine because you haven't sold anything. This is a new setup. If you're already in operations, I would choose a date that comes before any other transaction. If that's not an option, or if you're converting another item to inventory, I would choose a date that comes after the most recent transaction. So if you have transactions of this that happened yesterday or the day before, you don't want to mess because you counted it on a certain day. You don't want to mess with the quantity on hand. If you do, then you're just going to have to recount and you're going to have to make an adjustment later. Okay, so that's just FYI. Next, we're going to the reorder point. Just put down the amount that you would want to know whether your inventory is in a low stock or out of stock status. So I'm just going to say 25. If it hits that amount, I want to make sure so I can either reorder or produce more candy. For inventory assets, by default, there's one. I would recommend adding 3 subunits or sub accounts to inventory. So with inventory, that's a big bucket. You're going to have a lot of different types of inventory. So I would create 3 sub accounts of inventory. This would all roll up into inventory as like the parent. So it's all going to roll up to inventory asset. But I would create, finished goods, WIP or work in progress, and raw materials. Those are the main 3 inventory types that you will have. Like 99% of all your inventory will fall into these 3 categories. If you have something else like promotional, like swag, promo stuff, I guess you can fit that all into finished goods, or you can create another category and just dump all of your promo branded materials there. But I would have those that way when you're setting up different types of inventory, they will go into one of these 3 buckets. For this case, I'm just going to do finished goods, sub account of inventory. When do you want to start tracking your finances from this account? I would say from today, because it's going to ask like, what is the value of this account? So like, what is the value of all your finished goods, as of a certain date? So even if you choose something else, unless you knew the value of it at that time, it just doesn't make sense to backdate it. You can start it as of today. If you have your valuation of your inventory, you can put it here. Otherwise, you can leave it as 0 when you're setting up the account like this. You can always go back and do an adjusting entry to get you the right amount within finished goods. That's one of the cleanup items that you'll have to do anyways. So I would just put it at 0 for right now, just to set everything up. No, I put inventory. Okay. All right. That's fine. I'll just move on. I think the rest are pretty standard. So here for cost of goods sold, here I would align all of the cost of goods sold COGS sub-accounts to the income. So I have an income category that's chocolate bar. So I would create a subcategory that matched these sales. So this is the COGS of the chocolate bars, which is a sub account of, where's COGS? Here. Cost of goods sold, save and close. All right, so I've got chocolate bars in the cog section. I also have chocolate bars. Any, grammar I can fix later within the chart of accounts. And then in terms of sales tax, okay, find out whether your item is taxable or non-taxable. So for me, as a food item, food is typically not taxable. So I would, do that. For my chocolate bar business, I would set up almost all of my candy items, food items, as non-taxable. But again, you can always search, and if candy, candles, no, chocolate. Not even here. Candy item. This is way too complicated. Okay, this is a candy over 5 ounces. Okay, great. So if I can find it, great. Otherwise, I've done my research and I know that food products in the state of California and many other states are not taxable. So it's one or the other. You can decide, but do your research to see whether your item is a taxable or non-taxable item. So with that, these are the different best practices when it comes to creating any sort of inventory product in QBO. So the next few videos will cover creating all these different types of inventory. Finished goods, raw materials, and then adjusting inventory quantities, which would be pretty important because in QuickBooks, you're able to filter out and be able to see all your products that are low in stock. So that reorder point will trigger once you hit that reorder point or below, it will be low stock. And of course, when the quantity on hand is 0, then it will filter out all of those items that you're out of stock. So if you're connecting QuickBooks with an online e-commerce site like Shopify, if you set up the system to show out of stock, it's important to keep these quantities accurate, so that Shopify can show the right thing, right? So again, these are the best practices that I can give about creating an inventory item in QuickBooks. So like and comment if you enjoyed the video and you learned something new. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.